Hi, Merle Goldstein here. Tonight I was going to talk about the importance of privacy in development and how parental intrusiveness can sometimes um, cause a child to not develop a sense of their own self because they don't have the transitional space, a space that just belongs to them and in their own mind to play with ideas or to get to know what they think or what they feel. So some examples of ways that people may intrude on a child's privacy can be asking too many questions, right? So maybe if a child comes home from school and the parent seems to be interrogating them about what happened at school, and maybe the child doesn't seem to want to talk, but the parent is not attuned to that or has their own need to feel like they know what went on. And so they may push the child to open up about things that they don't want to talk about. Um, Asking questions that a person seems to not want to answer is one way that we might intrude on a child's experience. Another way that we intrude on someone's experience is by interrupting them when they're doing something solitary. Now, I'm not saying that parents should never interrupt their children or um, call them out of their rooms or things like that. But if a child is reading or thinking or having some alone time and the parent interrupts that a lot, especially if they interrupt it in a very jarring way, like, I need you right now, come here, or come out of your room, I need your help, right? So then that makes it very hard for the child to feel like they have a space that's protected where they're able to go inside themselves and think about what they feel and what they need. This can happen in adult relationships also, right? Maybe with a spouse. So it may feel like you're being asked too many questions or being told something too many times, like someone is nagging you about something or bringing something up over and over and over again. A lot of times when people don't need space or need to pull away a little bit because they're feeling too vulnerable or they're not regulated, if the other person gets anxious about that and is trying too hard to force a connection or a conversation before the person is ready, that can also feel intrusive. And then what happens a lot of times is when people feel intruded on, so um, they either don't develop an ability to know what they really want, they accommodate too much to what the other person seems to be asking of them, right? So it's a person ends up um, putting their self aside and accommodating to other people having access to them or telling them what to do, what to think, where to be, interacting with them, having conversation with them without giving them a private space of their own to process their own feelings or their own thoughts without somebody jumping in and trying to interact or force a conversation or make some sort of connection happen. Or the person may go the opposite direction or the opposite extreme and go inwards, and their privacy becomes super important to them. And sometimes they'll make it look on the outside like they're fully engaged with other people, but really on the inside, they're hiding inside their own world in their mind. Or maybe some people get caught up in things like video games or daydreaming or things that make them feel like they have some control over their own mind or their own self and their own space. Um, this need to be able to have a space that's just our own, where we're able to process things and think about things in the privacy of our own mind without having to talk about it, without having to share it with someone else, without having to be vulnerable, right? It helps us to make sense of things that maybe if we are prematurely asked to verbalize them or to share them with other people, we'll shut down, right? It's too hard to be able to do that. It's too painful or too raw, right? And so we end up just putting up a wall or shutting down or trying to make a boundary instead of feeling like we have that space that's ours, that belongs to us to go through things in our own mind and to have that space, right? To really to have that private space where we're able to think through our inner experiences and our internal experiences and world and things that happen to us without feeling like we're forced to put that out there too quickly. And when people don't have this feeling, when they don't feel secure or safe in this ability to um, have that room in their mind that belongs to only them, it can really thwart a person's creativity, it can inhibit a person, it can make it very hard for a person to feel safe, to brainstorm, to be creative, to think of new ideas because They're having to protect themselves so much from intrusion, from impingement, from people sort of stepping into their territory, into their boundary. It makes it very, very hard for the person to be free inside their own mind, right? And when we're free inside our own mind, that's when we're able to express ourselves, to create, to come up with new ideas, to generate ideas, to process things, to let ideas germinate, right? We need to have a certain private space to be able to do that. And sometimes that's hard for the people around us, which can make it difficult for us. I know as a therapist, a lot of the work that I do for my clients happens in my own mind. Um, a lot of the work I do as a parent, right, happens in my own mind, and I expect my clients, my children, expect other people in my life to also have privacy of mind where they're able to work things through inside their own head without feeling like they're forced to talk about it or they have to talk about it. It's really like learning to follow the other person's lead about what they're willing to share, what they're ready to share, and helping a person feel like there's no pressure on them. There's no pressure or expectation that they have to prematurely open up about something or face something or put into words something that really is just they need to kick around in their mind for a while first. Sometimes fantasies, things that we imagine, right? All that is a healthy process for people to have that space. And we don't want that space to collapse either because there's too much intrusion um, or because a person we don't give a person that space, right, to really like process what they need to think about in their own way and in their own time. So learning how to give people space without feeling shut out, without feeling like we have to jump in or fix it or no, being able to tolerate the exclusion, right? For those of us that have had painful experiences of exclusion in life, maybe by friends who left us out or feeling excluded in our family, maybe older siblings used to do things together and leave us out of it. So we could feel especially shut out when people don't share things with us. We could take it personally and feel like they're rejecting us or they don't want to share with us. But really, it might just be that the other person needs that space of their own to be able to go through things in their own mind and come to terms with it before they're ready to talk about it. So learning how to give people space and let people have that privacy of mind is very important to relationships and being healthy in relationships. And when we have anxiety about letting other people do that or about our own right to do that, to take our own space in our own minds, that might be something to try to work through and talk about. Because it really is a very healthy thing for a person to be able to have their own mind, access to their own mind in a way that they can choose to share with other people later. They can actually choose to share when they're ready, when they want to, where it becomes a choice. Then they were able to use that space inside themselves to come to a place of wanting to actually externalize it or bring it out, express it to others. That's a very healthy feeling as opposed to feeling forced to not have privacy or to let someone in or bring someone into one's world when we're not ready to do that.